Welcome in to the Thursday, October 21st edition of the Fun Astrology Podcast. Thomas Miller, we're going to have some fun today. We have nothing going on in the sky. Everything is in place like we were talking about, but we have a Taurian moon today, and I have a Taurian moon question. We're going to go to the vault. I'm sorry I got a little bit behind on some of your questions, but we're going to pull one out now from one of our betas in the 101 Astrology course.
Hi, Thomas. It's Kimberly. I just got done listening to a little segment of the bonus episode. I 100% love the bonus episode. I love the discussion on Ceres. I love the discussion on the Earth Goddess, all that stuff. So my questions are, because I heard the piece about Taurus. So questions about Taurus and the goddess and everything that's connected to that. This actually comes from a dream. And the dream, the nursery rhyme came up, hey diddle diddle, cat in the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, right? The little dog laughed to see that one. And so I ended up doing research, finding out that those were actually constellations, which I didn't know that. And then the cow jumping over the moon, Taurus. And then when I did more research, I talked about that civilization, which I can't remember the name of it, that civilization, they were worshiping Hathor, right? And so then some of this also goes with Venus. So I was wondering, as I do more research on all these things, do you have any words when it comes to the planet Venus, Taurus constellation, Hathor, and just, all the goddess things that go with that? And just thank you for this podcast. I love it so much.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly, and thanks for being in the course. And she's just a great supporter and fan of this work, and I just appreciate this question, too, because it leads into some things. We could go for an hour on what she just asked, but what a cool thing to have come up with the Cow Jumped Over the Moon poem. Hey diddle diddle, the cat in the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such a sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Now, what an amazing correlation that she connected that with astrology, especially Taurus, which we have right now as the moon is in Taurus. Well, I did some digging, and sure enough, and I'm credit where credit is due here, if you go to or just Google this, Living with the Moon website, and then just the cow jumped over the moon, this blogger wrote an article about it. And it just so happened that she had visited the center, if you will, of the Minoan civilization that she's talking about on the island of Crete. She even has a picture of it there. So we're talking about going back BC 1450 all the way back to 2700. I mean, this is just incredible. The picture that she has is the throne room where King Minos ruled, and this palace is famous for its Minotaur. I'm not going to go into all the mythological things that were there, but the Minotaur is a half-man, half-bull creature. And if you don't think that astrology has been around for quite a while, the Minoans had a lunar solar calendar. And that podcast that she was referencing is the one that Stephanie and I did to answer a great question, and it was posted on Sunday, October 2nd, if you want to go back and reference that. But the Minoans also based, I think, their society, their goddess, was Demeter, which is Mother Earth, which gets into Ceres that we were talking about in that thing. I mean, it's just the whole thing is there. I mean, it is totally there. So this article is really great, livingwiththemoon.com, and then just search up the cow jumped over the moon. But here's the thing. So Kimberly asked about Venus. So Steve Forrest talked about this in the Elements series, and I want to say that it was in the Book of Air, where he talks about the Venus pentagram. And you can Google that, and you can see a lot more about it. In fact, if you search Stephen Forrest Venus pentagram, you will get an article that he wrote about the Venus retrograde in 2014, but he describes the Venus pentagram in there. So this is like the homework episode, because like I said, we could go on for a long time about this. And the lady from the Living with the Moon blog also mentions this, that when the Sun and Venus conjoin, that happens every 8 years. if you map those dates on the astrological wheel, on the chart, it forms a pentagram, a 5-pointed star. And as Steve points out, that we can reflect back on these 8-year cycles in our life. So start with 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, etc., and think back around relationships and creativity around those 8-year cycles. And you know, the cycles in astrology just are absolutely fascinating. And we are in one now. We began one last December, a 20-year cycle that really began the beginning of this year when Jupiter conjoined again with Saturn. But what also just amazes me is we're going back to 2700 BC. So let's say 2,000 years BC, add 2,000 years on the other side. We're going back 4,000 years. And these Minoans were not only recognizing it, they were honoring it. They had set up monuments to it. Then at the end of this livingwiththemoon.com article, she says, the star Orion, the bull in the sky, is visible in the northern hemisphere between November and February and rises over the crescent of the winter moons. Could that be the cow jumping over the moon? I wonder what those Minoan moms read to their children when they were having a hard time falling asleep at night. Do you suppose? 8-year cycle. Check it out.